The first thing I want to do is show everyone how to set up the Sitecore reference solution on your local environment. Before you do anything, you're going to want to install Sitecore 1.9 and SXA 1.8. Check GitHub just to make sure those are still the current versions. Those are just the versions that I used at the timing of this recording. Once you have that up and running, you're going to want to come to the repository, which the link will be in the comments, but it's under my Mtelligent account. And you'll see under my repositories there's Sitecore reference solution. You can get the link to clone or download, and once you have that, you can either clone it at the command line or use Visual Studio to bring yourself a local copy. Once you do that, open the solution file in Visual Studio, and there are 3 places you're going to want to update in terms of paths to make sure that this thing is ready to build. So if you come into Visual Studio, the 3 places you're going to want to do are under Publishing Targets. You're going to want to make sure the publishing URL matches the Sitecore 9.1 installation you want. In my case, I set up reference.dev.local, and that's what's checked in. So use that if you don't want to change that, but otherwise do that. The second place is under gulp config, where you'll actually see the path to where that the root of the site is on your hard drive. In my case, I installed under the websites folder in a reference.dev.local instance. And the last place you're going to want to do is in the foundation layer under serialization. You'll find in the app config a zdev settings config file, and in here you'll find paths to the various folder locations, and these are used by Unicorn to determine where to store serialization files. You'll note that these scripts and these config files are exactly the same as what's used in Habitat, and I basically took the same approach to use in my solutions. Once you do that, you should be able to come to the command line, and what I do is open up a PowerShell script. Now, you want to make sure you have all the other prerequisites set. I'm not going to go through that process, but basically you need to have Node installed, you need to have gulp installed, and you should do an npm install from the command line to make sure you have everything locally. Other ones, sometimes I'll make sure are installed globally or like Windows build tools. But once you have everything set up and you've updated your config files, you should be able to run gulp from the command line. And this will just do a local build and will deploy the results to your local instance, including installing all of the Unicorn files that are associated with it. Now, there is no actual website. This is purely a demonstration solution. But what you want to do is once this is done, just make sure you could still log in to Sitecore. If everything ran fine, you shouldn't get any errors, and you should be able to go in and see like that. It's done, and I mean the idea here is developers would pull latest, they'd run the full gulp to make sure everything's deployed locally. We'll cover some other things you can do in terms of the solution and gulp in a later episode. But just to be safe, what we'll probably want to do is just log in. Which will take a little while since we just recycled the app pool after the deployment. And if we wanted to check with the install, we can kind of validate that we have our sample feature in the templates folder, or we can look at a number of places to see that the Unicorn items are there. So we can see under feature, we have our sample feature. So everything's been installed. All right, that's it for this session. Thank you.